Yes.
I'm implying that he is a crime guy and he is surrounded by criminals. And those 17 people prove that he is, in fact, surrounded by criminals. He likes criminals. He hangs out with them. They are attracted to him because he is a mob boss. He is a criminal. He is crooked, dirty, and the most corrupt president we have ever had, without a doubt.
If you say so. All I'm saying
Hmm.
is that it seems that these mishaps uh, in the process by which these things are supposed to go in
Hmm.
only ever seem to go in one direction.
Mr. Trump claims that he's exonerated and demands his boxes back. Every time he speaks, he brings himself one step closer to conviction. His legal strategy and political strategy are at odds with each other.
Um, Now, are these from the same story? Because I think I did see
You're
something
right.
about him getting off from the that New York case that was filed against him.
There was a business case that was filed against him that he has been uh, that has been dropped. It wasn't the big Alvin Bragg one, but it was a, let's see which one it was. It was about his business dealings. This was specifically a business thing for him that got dropped in New York. I
Oh, it
can,
was a golf tax case. Okay.
yeah, but that's not the
That's
uh,
not the other New York
that's not
investigation.
the other New York investigation. No, very similar to the E. Jean Carroll, who is going to be suing him again, possibly. They've brought it up. He goes to court. He says one thing, and they have a defense and stuff like that. But then he goes on TV and starts saying things that either implicate him or he does the crime again. E. Jean Carroll is putting together a second defamation trial against Trump because of the things he said on his CNN town hall.
I really don't understand how she's supposed to justify this.
I agree with you. She might not be able to justify it, but there's now a precedent set that he goes on TV and talks shit about her and says lies
Well,
about her,
sure.
and then she sues him for it. And then he could be lying about the first case. I don't know.
Well, okay, but that's the thing though, is in order to prove defamation
Hmm.
and be awarded damages like this,
Hmm.
of she's asking for $10 million,
Hmm.
she has to prove that he cost her $10 million,
I know.
which there's no fucking way. There's no way that she lost $10 million over Trump saying it didn't happen. Unless she had projected book sales, which there's no way she did, of greater than 10 million, and she didn't sell anything,
Hmm.
then I mean, there's just no way that $10 million is a reasonable sum for a defamation case. Ridiculous.
Carroll's attorneys wrote in the motion seeking the amended complaint that Trump doubled down on his prior defamatory statements. I think they're saying that because he did the thing again, that they get to sue him again. I don't know. It's a difficult legal place to be, and I don't. I definitely see your point that he's not costing her any money, but at the same time, if he's lying on news about somebody, they should be able to sue him. And maybe the number comes down. What if that number was much smaller? Hey, he did it again. We're suing him again for $75.
Well, yeah, obviously, then you maybe have a case,
Okay.
but I mean, yeah, maybe he cost her sales of 3 books,
Okay.
but at the same time, that at that point, it's not even worth bringing to court, because you're paying lawyers substantially more than $75 to do this.
Is is it a principle thing? I mean, I recognize that it's not worth bringing to court over $75, and they are lawyers, and they will get a piece of however much that number is. Good lawyer will get a piece of that $10 million, and if it's a $5 million, the lawyers get less of a piece. Um, is there any way a court could order him to stop talking about it? I
Yeah,
don't.
they actually can do that. Yeah.
Okay, be like, hey, listen, you've been found liable. You're right. I remember our talk about this. He's been found liable the first time for $5 million. We found you liable a second time. Here's a court order. Stop saying these things. Stop talking about
Yeah, that's when it becomes like if if you issue an injunction against talking about it,
it. Hmm.
um, then if he does continue to talk about it from that point, then what you can do is you can hold him in contempt of court, which then has its own set of penalties and whatnot.
Okay. And the first thing the media is going to do is ask him about it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it wasn't an accident that this lady on the CNN town hall asked him about it immediately. Like, obviously, she's going to do that. Uh, and then he talks about it because he has self control issues, I would suggest. Uh, and in the same vein, he is speaking about this documents case. And if he says things into a camera that confess his intent, is that usable in court?
Yeah, it is.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, if he says he did the things, and then I mean, you can use that in court. It's just a. I don't think he's in control of himself. He is a force of nature rather than a thinking, planning person.
Okay.
So now that everyone understands that the Presidential Records Act plus the Clinton Sox case totally exonerated me from the continuing witch hunt brought on by corrupt Joe Biden, the DOJ, deranged Jack Smith, and the radical left Marxist thugs, when are they going to drop all charges against me, apologize, and return everything that was illegally taken, Fourth Amendment, from my home? This was nothing other than election interference. This was nothing other than election interference. You know what doesn't work in an actual court? Complaining about the Clintons.
That is true.
It doesn't work in an actual court. If he's been accused of doing a thing and he goes in there and says Hillary did this and Bill Clinton did the Sox case, it doesn't get him anywhere within the trial. Like, that doesn't exonerate him. It doesn't get him off. It
No, but
doesn't convince a jury.
it does convince voters though. That's
It
the
does
thing.
convince voters. Yeah, you're right. And so his political ambitions are clashing with his legal defense.
Yeah, potentially.
It's best for his campaign to go out and talk shit about this, but it's bad for his legal team. And I will have to figure out which one wins in the end. I mean, if he gets convicted, what happens to his run? How much stuff? If he gets off, what happens to his run? I think if he got found not guilty, I mean, I think he absolutely wins the presidency. Republican support for Trump has increased even as he faces dozens of felony charges. Has Trump done something illegal, unethical, or nothing wrong? 78% of Democrats said it was legal, 14 said it was unethical only, and 8% said nothing wrong. Republicans, 13% illegal, 33% unethical, 50% nothing wrong. Independents, 58 illegal, 21 at unethical, 25 at nothing wrong. What do you think of
Seems
this
about right.
chart right here?
Well, I think you have clear bias from both of your sides of the aisle in one direction or another, which is to be expected.
Okay, but
And as usual, independents are split about 50-50.
I don't trust independents. uh,
And it seems about par for the course to me.
Now, if he were found guilty, would these numbers change? If he were found guilty of this thing, because this is a criminal matter, so it's not a liable like in the civil thing. If he's found guilty, do these numbers move?
Maybe a bit. I bet you pretty much all of the bars moved slightly to the right, but I think that the people that have these opinions already are not likely to change them very much. You might get the independents to move to move that orange bar up further to the right, probably taking it from the purple.
Okay. I agree with you. And that makes me nervous because if hypothetically he's found guilty, he's given 1 year house arrest or something along those lines. I honestly don't think he's going to get 200 years. He's going to get 2 or 3 years house arrest or something like that. And uh, this green 50% right here of Republicans who say he did nothing wrong won't change.
It is a possibility, yeah.
And I think that's because that 50% of Republicans don't care about facts and reality. Doesn't matter. Everything is opinion to them, and the world is what they want it to be.
I think that Democrats and Republicans, and probably even most independents too,
Hmm.
um, they don't do enough research to know enough about facts and reality to have an opinion on them.
I think that's very true for the
Um,
independents. That's why they're always at 50-50. Or they swap back and forth between voting for George W. Bush and then Obama.
oh, I certainly don't think that Democrats or Republicans in general, people don't have time to do what we do and sit here and look at politics all the time.
Okay.
Um, they're busy with their lives, and they occasionally see information from whatever source of media they prefer, whether that's Fox News or if that's CNN or if that's the fucking Huffington Post.
Hmm.
You know, um, but other than that, it's not like they're sitting here reading these articles all the time. I don't think they are. I don't think that most people are hyper political the way that people like you and I are.
Hmm. And I have to
Um, they
wrestle with
might
that. You're right.
watch a Trump speech from time
Hmm.
to time, and if they did, and Republicans, of course, are much more likely to watch a Trump speech. And so, if they are watching the Trump speech and Trump is saying, "Well, I did nothing wrong," well,
Then they believe it.
then they're gonna believe it. Yeah.
Mm. I think the this kind of thing is how we get issues like the January 6th. We can't agree on reality, and one of us, specifically Mr. Donald Trump, is saying, "I won. It was rigged." I mean, that's a good reason to storm the White House. An illegal, rigged election is a real good reason to storm the White House. I just don't think that he told the truth about it. It wasn't illegal, in fact. It wasn't rigged. He lost. And I worry that this 50% will keep believing whatever they want to believe. Facts be damned. And you're right, it could go this way as well. The Democrats over here at 78 could be believing incorrect things and then acting upon them.
I think that looking at the facts of the case, he definitely mishandled classified information,
Okay.
um, which I understand that there seems to be this argument that you have to prove intent for that, which is what got Hillary
Hmm.
off with the whole server and whatnot.
Hmm.
I don't buy that shit.
Okay.
There are plenty of people that mishandle classified information on accident all the time, and they go to jail for it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. But if he willingly and intentionally did with intent, do you think that makes the situation worse?
Well, it certainly makes the case stronger. I think that mishandling like classified information is bad whether you did it intentionally or not,
Okay.
but it
There's
makes the case
no
stronger in court.
okay. There's no uh, level of hey, I did this intentionally that would make it worse morally in your eyes.
It depends on the intent behind mishandling the classified information. Was it so that you could provide it to a foreign national?
That makes it worse, right?
Because that makes it a lot worse.
Okay.
But then it's the act of providing that information to a foreign national
Okay.
that makes it worse.
Well, we got said Ted Cruz. The tiers of justice in America are so brazenly partisan. Trump gets indicted for classified documents. Biden has thousands of documents in multiple locations. Democrats have completely weaponized the FBI and the DOJ to destroy their political rivals. Do we have a two-tier justice system that's harder on Republicans than Democrats? Does he have a point? Is he correct?
I think there is some amount of circumstantial evidence that may point in that direction.
Okay.
For example, I just recently came across, and it may be because it's recent news,
Mm-hmm.
the finding that the special counsel, some special counsel investigated the FBI over the way that that whole Trump-Russia investigation was handled,
Mm-hmm.
and found that a full investigation never should have even been launched. So we spent years talking about this, and there's this full FBI investigation,
Mm-hmm.
and then now they've reviewed it and gone, "Hey, wait, actually, you probably shouldn't have done that."
But
Well, but it happened.
it happened,
You did it,
and they
right?
found crimes, and they found some criminals. They
Well,
prosecuted a whole bunch of people for breaking the law.
for breaking the law, but a lot of this was like tax fraud and um,
Yeah.
reporting requirements not related to national security or Russia itself, but they found, yes, they found crimes, but they didn't find anything related to what they were supposed to be finding, which was evidence of Russian collusion.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that doesn't work for the normal people, does it? I'm standing in front of a judge, and I say, Your Honor, it's true that there's heroin in my car, but the cop pulled me over for a broken taillight, and I do not have a broken taillight. He should not have pulled
Well,
me over, which
well,
means you
actually, that
cannot
does
prosecute me
um,
for the heroin in my car.
well, actually, it does work though.
How does that
Maybe
work?
not, maybe not under your scenario there, but if somebody is if a cop is issued a warrant to go into your home to look
Mm-hmm.
specifically for let's say, a murder weapon,
Mm-hmm.
if they find weed or heroin in
Mm-hmm.
your home while they're while they're on a warrant to find a murder weapon,
Mm-hmm.
they are not allowed to take that heroin and then charge you for heroin possession.
Okay. I thought they were.
They are not. If they have a warrant to look for a very specific thing in your home, they can't charge you for the other stuff that they find there while they're there that first time. Now, they might go back and get another warrant for the other stuff.
They might call immediately the judge and say, Hey, I found some heroin. Can I get a bench warrant? And then they get that immediately, and they say, Yeah, go ahead. I would be worried about a police state that is pulling people over for nothing and then charging them for things. That would be worrisome to me. But I don't think that it's such a big deal when it comes to a person of that level. The FBI investigates all uh, presidential nominees, all of them. That shouldn't
Um,
be a surprise. They ought to. They ought to determine
I,
whether or not
I
Barack Obama is a secret Kenyan. Like they should investigate that.
how do you know that the FBI investigates all presidential candidates?
Because I guess that they do. It doesn't seem, and this is just me being a conspiratorial uh, Alex Jones fan. I'm a pretty big fan of his. He does a lot of good work, you know. And the FBI is checking on every single person within the government. Yeah, the FBI, police state. Yeah, I think that they do. They do background checks of these things, and they look for the people that are going to be in charge to be secret spies or Manchurian candidates or surprise Kenyans. I don't think you should be surprised by that. I think it's fine.
I don't think that's how this works.
I don't know that they do it officially, but they unofficially do some things.
I also know that during at least one of these investigations, um, the FBI went before a FISA court
Mm-hmm.
and knowingly lied to the judge to get a warrant to that was the wiretapping case to
Mm-hmm.
perform the wiretapping of the president. or the presidential candidate at the time,
Hmm.
Trump.
Yes.
So they still had to get a warrant to
Hmm.
do this.
Hmm.
They went to the judge. They lied to the judge
Hmm.
about what evidence they had so that they could get the warrant to spy on a presidential candidate.
Hmm. I'm not saying that didn't happen. I just don't think it's terrible. I mean,
You
it's
don't
not
think that it's
good.
terrible
It's not
for the
good, but it's
FBI
not
to be able
an
to lie to a judge to start an investigation into an American citizen and violate their rights to privacy?
what are they trying to accomplish? The police lie to people all the time. If you were
Not to judges.
not to judges,
They're not supposed to lie
they're
to
not
judges,
supposed to
at
lie to
least.
judges, but they lie
And if
to
they do, they're
people all the
supposed to
time.
lose their jobs.
They lie to people all the time. Uh,
Okay, but we're
and we're
talking about a court and
yeah.
getting a warrant. And our whole judicial system, with the whole thing about getting warrants in the
Hmm.
first place and whatnot, is that this is supposed to be part of our checks and balances,
I
right?
agree that it is bad to
Your
lie to the judge. Is it
your police
world-ending?
officers.
Is it world-ending? Dismantle the FBI levels of bad? No.
I think that it sets a
Fire
very
that guy
dangerous precedent. And I also,
and
you didn't ask me about if we should be dismantling the FBI. You asked me
okay.
if there is. I mentioned that there is at least some circumstantial evidence that the FBI and other institutions are used as a weapon in some cases against candidates that they don't like.
Do we know that they don't like them or that they are shady operators? Because I think investigating Trump is almost always warranted. The man is
Um,
crooked
I think
and
that
corrupt as hell.
weren't there leaked emails from some of the investigators that were on the case, specifically talking shit about Trump and how much they hate him
Yes. Why do they hate him? Because he's crooked and
because
corrupt
they're
as hell.
leftists?
Because he's crooked and corrupt as shit. He is the most corrupt individual I've ever had the pleasure of seeing.
I
He
don't
is
think that's
the
why.
most
I don't
crooked
think that was
person
the
in the
basis
planet.
of those text
He
messages.
is literally the worst human being that America has ever produced.
You, that is absolutely ludicrous. But
No,
um,
but those people
the
didn't
the,
like
e-
him.
the text messages,
You're right.
they didn't like him first.
Right.
I mean,
Why didn't they like him?
because they
Because
didn't
they
like him
think he's
because
a
they're
criminal.
politically on the left.
And why doesn't the left like him? It's not his policy.
It certainly is.
No, his policies are crooked and corrupt also, but he is a bad guy. He is
That's
the bad
ridiculous.
guy. He
Even
is
if Trump
awful.
was squeaky clean, if he still had the policies that he has, you guys would still hate him.
But they wouldn't be trying to find his crimes. If he were squeaky clean and never committed any crimes and wasn't in court literally most of his entire life, they wouldn't be starting investigations. They'd be activists pushing against his agendas. But he is a criminal. He has been very, very, very dirty his entire life. He was 4 years old and his dad started paying him a salary to dodge taxes. Now, 4-year-old Donald Trump is not responsible for that, but he has been dirty his entire life. And yes, leftists don't like him because of that. He is a liar and he's a cheater.
So stop. You don't
He's a
like him because he
cheater.
came down the golden elevator or the
I
golden
don't like him
escalator,
because he's a
and he
cheater.
said I don't want illegal immigrants coming over here.
Right, that's a bad thing for our
And
country.
our country is not doing so great under Obama.
I have 100 reasons to dislike him. That's one of them, sure.
Sure, and what I'm saying is that those investigators in the FBI, whose
Uh-huh.
text messages were released, they don't dislike the guy because he's shady. They disliked him because they are on the left.
Why not both? Let it be both. If he's shady and he's dirty and he's committing crimes, then let's investigate him. I'm not happy that
Okay,
they lied to
so
get that one warrant,
back to
but I'm
the
glad that the investigation happened. Fire that one guy, continue the investigation. Charge anybody you can with any crimes they committed.
sounds absurd if the basis for the investigation in the first place was uh, illegal. And then on top of that, the most annoying thing about that investigation is yes, 17 people were charged with crimes, but and every time this comes up in discussion, I'll have
Mm-hmm.
some fucking idiot that tells me, "Oh, well, the investigation into Russian collusion turned up 17 people who were charged with crimes."
Mm-hmm.
And the implication there is that they were charged with crimes related to colluding with the Russians. And
They
that is
weren't.
simply not true.
I agree. They're not. They
But
were
the
his in his
implication in
orbit
that
committing
statement
crimes.
is, well, not
They were
even
his
not even crimes.
guys committing
Okay,
crimes.
hold on.
He is a crime
And
guy.
not even crimes that they committed while they were working with or for him. In some cases, these were crimes that were committed back in like 2012, 2013, before they had any interaction with Trump.
Sure.
So again, I mean, these were totally unrelated to Russian collusion. But the most annoying thing about that conversation and the 17 people that were criminally charged um, is that there's this conflation
Mm-hmm.
of, well, 17 people were charged in this investigation, therefore Russian collusion must have been true. It's simply not.
I don't think that's what they're saying. They're
That
not
is the
saying no.
implication every time that it comes up. Yes.
I'm implying that he is a crime guy and he is surrounded by criminals. And those 17 people prove that he is, in fact, surrounded by criminals. He likes criminals. He hangs out with them. They are attracted to him because he is a mob boss. He is a criminal. He is crooked, dirty, and the most corrupt president we have ever had, without a doubt.
If you say so.
And because of that, I think it's, you're right, it is illegal to have started that investigation. Fire that guy. Try not to do it in the
He won't be.
future.
I don't think he was.
And censure him. Punish him at work somehow. Put him on a work probation. Do something. That's fine. I don't care. The FBI can have a process for that. But that doesn't mean he's not corrupt. That doesn't mean he's not crooked, because I think he is. I every time things come up, I don't think this isn't the FBI going after somebody they don't like. The FBI doesn't like criminals, and they're going after a criminal who happens to be Donald Trump. The FBI investigates crimes. Donald Trump commits many crimes and is surrounded by criminals. That's not them targeting him because of his political affiliation.
All I'm saying
Hmm.
is that it seems that these mishaps uh, in the process by which these things are supposed to go in
Hmm.
only ever seem to go in one direction.
I can appreciate that thing you just said. Yes, they do happen to go towards Republicans.
Yeah, all these
You're going to
accidental
suggest, and you're
things where
suggesting,
the
yeah,
FBI lies to the FISA court
that that was a person trying
irrelevant.
to accomplish a goal. I agree. And he lied to accomplish his goal. He said, I want this investigation and think it's important, so I'm going to put a lie on here so that they will accept it. And he is pushing for something. And he's not, I don't suggest he's pushing for a political thing. I think he's pushing for a uh, policing thing. Hey, uh, we're going to lie about this so that we can get this investigation and then we will be proven correct.
Well,
And that was his
that is
goal.
absolutely against the law.
I know it is. And I accept that. And I recognize that. And I think he should not have done that. And and he ought to be punished for it. I want to investigate and prove Trump is a criminal the right way.
Well, that would be preferable to setting a very dangerous precedent.
I know. And that does make me worry. A police state would not be good, I think. If the investigators get to do whatever they want whenever they want, then it could be worrisome. And we would not, and I would not like that. Oh, hi. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button, press the subscribe button. Uh, if you want to tell me how right I am, feel free to leave a comment. If you want to tell me how wrong I am, leave a comment too. That's good. Um, this is just kind of a hobby for me, so I appreciate you coming by, giving it a watch, and pressing the YouTube buttons. Thanks.